30 seconds to a minute. It allows people like when you live to kind of like come in and then
Get the beer, open the beer.
You know, and I've been shocked, man, how many people really been responding. You know what I'm saying? People was like, hey, you ain't doing the show this week? You're not doing it. So I literally had to tell people like, hey, we're gonna push it back because we actually want to put them on YouTube now. So Facebook is a great outlet and I got a great response, but the truth is you want it to be worldwide where people can get it from anywhere and just kind of follow you and what you do. So, and that's where you get the most value. So that's kind of what we're doing right there. So yeah, man, it's this is new though. I'm not used to like doing the camp, but it's been going well. Like everybody leaves trashed. Everybody leaves trashed.
That's my plan.
All right, so we're live, man. Hey, welcome to Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur. Today I have Mr. Stephan Kline from Kline Properties. So Steve is, I met Steve early in my landlord life. So basically, I had a landlord prior to yourself, but he didn't agree with the rents that I wanted to put my properties at because he felt that it would actually affect his occupancy ratio or retention ratios. So I then told my assistant, I gave her a set of standards and things to look for per my mentor to find 3 companies out there and maybe interview somebody with them and for her to evaluate what she thought was best. So there were 3 other companies that I don't remember the names to, but yours came to the top, and then I don't know who she talked to at the time, but she was just like, we might want to try that. We then spoke. I think we went out to brunch or lunch or something. Yeah, downtown. That restaurant's no longer there. That was Chef.
Piano bar or something.
Yeah, that was on Ohio Street too. Yeah, Chef. Man, I don't remember. Regardless, you took me there, and then you were actually breaking down the burr method at the time.
I was breaking down the what?
The burr method. How I could obtain properties for free by leveraging my cash. And you use the example of if you have $100,000, Eric, instead of getting 1 property, you can get 5 and just put 20% down each time to really like scale my business. So that was different. I was aware of this strategy, but I appreciate you making the attempt to. So without ado, who's Steve? Talk to us. Who's Steve?
Well, I started the company in 2001, and I had some rental properties of my own. I got laid off from my business, from my company, my job, and decided, well, I'm not going to go work. I'm just to start my own thing, I'm going to work for someone else anymore.
Gotcha.
So it was actually a Rich Dad Poor Dad books that kind of
motivated
gave me the bug to do that. Yeah.
Gotcha. So what did you do prior to starting? Like, what kind of job did you have?
I'm an electrical engineer.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you're an electrician?
No, electrical engineer.
My bad. Okay. I didn't know. Okay. Got you. So you were done with that. You had a few rental properties. Did you own them outright or?
Most leveraged. And we did just that very thing. We had a $50,000 line of credit. We'd buy my second wife. And we would buy something all cash. It was clunky, and we'd run up some credit cards, fix it all myself, and then we'd refinance and pay off the credit cards, pay off the home equity line, and move on to the next one.
Boom. So when he's talking about his home equity line, that's basically he was using the equity in his home to borrow against to do his repairs. So if you have equity in your home, you may want to visit a bank. Let's say Huntington, they're doing 85%. Heat locks, home equity line of credits. That means that basically, if your home is worth $100,000 and you only owe $50,000, they're willing to lend you up to $85,000 minus your debt. So you get $35,000 that you could leverage to get other properties and or do other projects that you need to do, and it just goes as a second mortgage.
Yeah, line of credit's great because they give you a little checkbook.
Yes.
So you just write a check. It's just like
they got debit cards nowadays.
Yeah, debit cards. Yeah, I had a checkbook and a debit card.
Now, Steve, we never really had this talk. Where you from?
Ohio.
Gotcha. Where in Ohio?
Akron, Ohio.
Gotcha.
Rubber City, or it used to be Rubber City.
Gotcha. So what brought you to Indy?
Job.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I followed a job here.
Gotcha. Family wise, like how's your family? What's your family structure? How many kids you got?
I've got 3 kids.
Okay.
My oldest works for me, and he's blessed me with some grandchildren. We got, just found out over Thanksgiving we got a granddaughter on the way.
Okay. Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
Okay. Okay. Then the other two, boy, girl.
Yeah, the boy was the oldest, then boy, then girl.
Understood. Understood. How old are they?
35, 33, and 31.
Gotcha.
Stair step.
Steve was back to back with it. You hear me, Ziggy?
So I couldn't leave me alone.
Oh! I love it. So you obviously went to school in Akron, right? Any sports or anything like that? Gotcha. Oh, you into sports?
Not really.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. What took you into the path of property managing, like your own? I get that part, but other people's. Like, what made you like decide that I want to do that versus continue to invest in your own properties?
Well, the notion is that if you can have your own real estate, but if you have a property management company as well, be business owner, and then it's kind of all one package. They complement each other.
Understood.
So that was the idea.
Gotcha. Okay. And your first year in business, what was that like?
Oh, had an office in the basement.
Okay.
Yeah, I got one employee, and it probably was a year before I got her. Eventually moved into one of our rental properties, made an office there.
Okay.
We were there for a few years, and then we got a commercial space.
Gotcha. Is that the one on Washington Street?
No,
Okay.
I rented a commercial space over on East Street for a few years. And then I got that opportunity to buy that property in Washington.
Gotcha.
I bought that with seller financing.
I bought this with seller finance.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what a seller finance deal is, it's basically a land contract. What's a land contract? It's basically a lease to own agreement. So in essence, Steve probably approached somebody that had a distressed building that it was vacant, they weren't using it. They want to get rid of it, but they weren't in a rush. So Steve probably made an agreement to where, hey, I'll renovate it and maybe give you 10% down on what you want. So if they wanted $100,000, Steve would put 10% down, $10,000, and do the renovations. That's the deposit basically for the agreement. Steve may have now 3 to 5 years he will have to pay going rents, and then at a certain point where there's a deadline, Steve has to buy it.
Actually, he gave me a mortgage, selling mortgage.
Oh.
So I got the deed up front.
That's different. Okay.
Yeah, he's a creative guy. He's a local millionaire investor guy.
Gotcha.
You wouldn't recognize him. He's a suspender wearing kind of blue jean kind of.
Now that's different though. That's a power. That's understanding how the money works.
Yeah, he's a good guy. We manage a bunch of property for him. He's one of our whales.
Gotcha. What's a whale though? Define a whale in your.
I don't know. Well, you'd probably be a whale. You got a lot of properties.
So I have.
If I'm sending a check over 10,000 every month, yeah, that's a whale.
Got you.
Yeah.
Understood.
I'm sending him about a $14,000 check every month.
Yep. I got some more. I'm gonna be about 22 here next week.
Okay.
I'm finishing all the doubles in the next 2 weeks. So that man, that's a great project for me over there, man.
It is. It's very nice. I was there today.
Yeah.
And I poked my head in 6619. It's nice.
Yeah. So over there, man, it's crazy. Like my mortgage on the building is like $850, and I'm doing $275 each side. That's real sexy.
Oh.
That's real sexy. So all right, let's keep it moving. Now, you move into your building on Washington Street. You're growing. What can you attest your growth to? From one employee in the basement to the small commercial building, and now you got this building. Like obviously you're growing. How many doors did you manage? How many people did you have?
Well, Our early growth was, it was probably, Google was amazing. Now, I'm reaching back, this is like early 2000.
So we're talking 2005?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I started the business 2001, so, that time period in there, there's an online company called propertymanagement.com, and you can sign up with them and you send them some money, and then every time they send you a lead, they charge you like $50.
Understood.
Well, then I discovered Google. If you put AdWords, you're paying like $1 a click. And I think they're a little less focused, Google is, but if you do the right AdWords, it's pretty good.
Gotcha.
So that's a good tip for anybody. You got to get that focused AdWord, because if someone types in Indianapolis property management,
Boom.
that's no joke. I mean, that person's looking for me.
100%. I like it.
So that's really important if you're ever thinking about Google AdWords. Like, I tried it with Indianapolis rentals, and I got clicks crazy, and it's just ate up my per click. So I stopped doing that.
Understood.
There's a zillion people, it's not focused enough.
And I feel like there's bots on there too that kind of like assist on that. Gotcha. Now, today, you said you had about 10 to 12 people. How big is your team today?
We have 14.
14.
On payroll now.
Gotcha. Like, what's the structure? Just general. What's the structure today? Like,
So that's a really good question. So brand X property management, like a very common structure is to take a person and call them a property manager. Now there's a lot of functions that are handled by property managers. You have to lease the place. You got to address people's calls, whether they're calling for maintenance. You have to talk to the owner, to set rent rates, get it turned over, you have to maybe collect rent, you have to evict. There's all these functions that happen. A lot of management companies will take one person and have them do all those functions. And they call them a property manager, and they're relatively low paid, but they just do everything. So a real good rough rule of thumb, if you're looking for a property manager, is to ask how many employees you have covering and how many units do you manage.
correct.
Because you need to have one person for around 50 units. So they would take this one individual PM person and give them 50 units. So if a management company had 300 properties, they'd have 6 of these people.
Understood.
They got 6 different people. All 6 are doing leasing a little bit different, right? All 6 are collecting rents in a little bit different policies.
Right.
One's a little easier on people for collecting and let them get by a little longer. One's a little rougher. There's 6 different ways of doing everything. So the way we structure it is it's kind of a hybrid. So we have people that are functional. So we got Tamika. She does the rent collections, and she decides when to pull the trigger and evict. And she knows the policies. If we come across a weird situation that we haven't really accounted for, we talk about it, and we put that into our system.
Gotcha.
So she's really good at that function.
So that's how you create your terms and conditions. Trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we lost some money here. Let's add that to our terms to protect ourselves.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know how to really start that in any business.
Document it.
Boom. Hey, our mentor talked about that. We document our progress, what we learned, where we could get better. So good stuff. No, continue.
Leasing. Gail does leasing. She's really, really good at leasing.
She's my favorite, by the way.
When
she calls me, that means I made some money. Yeah, she's like, Eric, I got it released. Thank you.
One of the benefits of the single property manager that does everything is when you as an owner call them, they know everything.
Understood.
Like right now, they know the answer. We have Donna in place. She takes that place. So when you call her, very often she'll go, well, let me check with Gail.
100%.
And that's her job. That's what she does. So she doesn't always have the answer immediately, but she's pretty good at her customer service function, and she knows the business. She's been around a while.
So let's talk about Donna, because Donna is my go-to person. But she wasn't with you originally. I've been with you since 17, and then she kind of came in, and I was bitching about some shit around that time, and then she called and was like, "Hey Eric, I'm Donna. I'm here to take care of you're a good planter or whatever. So I was learning too though, and I think that I was a little bit. I put a lot into my properties, but I have a purpose with that. Obviously, I'm appreciating and lifting the ARV. Most guys are just coming in passionate or whatever, but I'm trying to make it to where I get the property for free if the value is a certain level in the refinance. So that's my strategy, obviously. But she came in and, like you said, she's kind of like a one-stop all. Like she literally was like, "Hey, don't call nobody else, just call me." How did that come about? Because, like you said, you have systems, you have a person for every stage.
Well, that used to be me, and I couldn't do anything else. I just all day long, and it's the same questions over and over. I don't understand my owner statement, and why is it like this, why is it like that? And, as an owner, you want to free yourself of those somewhat routine things.
Gotcha.
Now, that doesn't mean that, so it's a general business idea, is that you have systems and there are routine things, and so you want to document those and get people that are really good at those. But there are forces outside your company and sometimes within your company that want to mess that up. There's just stuff that's just coming in and messing things up. That's where your managers come into play.
Correct.
Managers shouldn't be doing everyday routine stuff.
Boom.
So when government comes in and finds you for some stupid thing, or this new procedure thing that you have to update your procedures, your standard operating procedure manual, that's where the manager comes in. Sometimes I have an owner that come in and they say, "Oh, I have this request." The manager has to decide, do we want to do this as a one-off? Do we want to offer this as a new feature that we always do? Put it into our systems? Do we want to tell this guy, no, we don't do that? And so that's where the managers come in. That's the managers.
Gotcha. If I may add to that, like what Steve basically is saying is that he fired himself from duties that he could assign. Everyday tasks that you could teach somebody how to do, you should assign those, because that's busy work, and Steve could focus on working on the business as opposed to working in the business, and you could actually grow, build relationships and things of that nature that actually people don't see but help expand, whether it's getting education, networking, and things of that nature. Yeah. So that's kind of like how I translate what you said. Now, like at Kline Properties, I don't know what you use. Do you use vacancy rate or retention rate? Or am I wording it wrong? In the sense of, what's your occupancy rate at the current moment for most of your tenants? Most of your landlords.
So the number that I like to talk about with people is kind of like retention rate. Like, what's our average duration of our leases?
Boom.
Like,
What is that?
If they're turning a lot, well, it's a little complicated to add up because it's not just hit a button, spit it out. The last time I did that, it was about 5 years. It's been a while since I did that. Yeah, I was kind of proud of that number. But some people say, well, how many vacancies do you have right now? Well, we got a bunch of them because we got this guy doesn't want to approve our he's thinking about selling it, so we're not putting it on the market. And this one's taking a while to rehab because it's a bigger rehab. And, it's Christmas time, so things aren't turning like they should. Ask me in the spring and things are
great.
They're great. Ask me Thursday in November or December, and not quite as good, so. Excuse me, good beer.
It's okay, man. The baby beer's getting you together. I accidentally got a little beer spawn, but we gonna get him a lot of little beers. Gotcha. Now, what tools in our relationships did you use to synchronize your business? Like, did you learn, hey, instead of having one person do everything, like, creating an assembly line of service is probably the best for me. Like, what triggered that?
Well, you have to delegate out. We've got this functional structure, and so you have to delegate functions that make sense. It's interesting, when you're teeny tiny, you got one guy and he's doing everything. You had another person,
Ziggy,
and you gotta split it. And there's maybe there's 8 functions. Well, you take these 3 and I'll take these 5, or I'll take these 4, you take those 4, you do that kind of thing. And then you add another person in the mix, and then you split them a different way.
Gotcha.
And so when you're really small businesses, it's kind of neat because sometimes I I would assign functions to people based on their skill set. Not necessarily fit a person to the function, but fit the function to the person sometimes.
That's
As
the
a
way to
small
go.
business, it's a good thing. When you get to be a big conglomerate or something, you got to find the right peg to fit in the right hole. But when you're small business, it's nice. You can do that.
Got you. No, I get that completely. So let's talk about the other side. Let's talk about, okay, now I hired you on. You know, if I'm new and I'm coming to you today, I don't know if things has changed. What's like the onboarding like? What are my fees? What should I expect? Hey Steve, I have 3 properties. I would love for your team to manage them. They're, 123 Main Street, XYZ. What's the process from there?
Well, we have a management contract. Our standard fee is 10% of anything we collect from a tenant. We retain as our management fee.
Gotcha.
We have when we find a new tenant, we charge $500 flat fee for that.
Gotcha. A lot of companies take the first month's rent.
That's all over the place. I've seen some charge 0, which I think is false economy, because how hard are they out there working to get your unit filled?
Gotcha. That's good advice.
So I thought 500 was kind of about the right thing, because a couple things. If the rents are really cheap, that's obnoxious. 500 is a heavy blow. If it's $1,500 rent, 500 is not a big deal. So it discourages the little ones. It encourages the bigger ones.
Gotcha.
That's the way I looked at it.
Gotcha. All right. So application, you collect 10% of the tenant's rent, and then you have, every time you acquire a new tenant, sign lease, and moved in, it's $500 off your first month's rent. Any other services that you offer outside of that?
Well, we do general contracting, so we can turn the units. We can put new carpet, new flooring. Matter of fact, we stock about 12,000 square foot of vinyl plank.
So I went to my flooring guy, and he was just like, "Yo, E." I was like, "What's up?" He was like, "Kline." I was like, "Yeah, he manages my properties."
Yeah.
I was just like, "Yeah."
I was at his place and I go, "Oh, Sandcastle, yeah."
Yeah, he said that. He was like, "Yo, E was Kline." I said, "Yeah." So that's cool. Do you use him as a resource?
Yeah, that's where I get all my.
Gotcha. He's
I
pretty
buy
cool
gold
dude.
from him. Yeah.
He's pretty cool dude. I've been using him probably about 3 years. I didn't meet him in the beginning, but once I got turned on to him, it was just like, man, it's so affordable. Like,
he's a good guy.
I mean, he's saving me about $1 every time per square feet.
Yeah, it adds up.
So like that helps out. And that's Carpet USA. Yeah, Carpet USA. Big shout out to Joe, man. Joe Rennick. Yeah, Joe Rennick, man. He's out there by the airport. Vinyl plank, man, at a low price. Never said I didn't help you. All right, so now I'm on boarded. I'm with you. I'm using your services. Like, how do you find? What's your filter system to find me a decent tenant?
That's a great question, because that's probably the #1 most important function of a good property manager. Because once you get a good tenant, it makes my job look real easy. It's like, oh, he's just collecting rent, taking a piece off and sending it on to me. He's not doing anything. We do a little bit more than that, but sometimes it can look like that. But they get that first good tenant is really important, and have one sitting in there for 5 or 6 years. It's great.
Man,
It's just
so
great stuff.
So let me tell the people the importance of actually having a tenant in there for 5 years. So if I have a tenant that leases from me a property for 1 year, they have to come in, they do what they do. There's going to be repairs every time, or things that you have to fix prior to getting a new tenant back in. Therefore, I have to clean it, I have to fix it, and let's just say on average it's $600-700 to fix it. No paint if they've been in there just a year, and it's a new paint house. You might have to wipe some walls or something. So let's say $600. So that's $600 when they exit. Then when I get a new tenant, I now have $500 fee, which is $1,100 total now.
We lost a month's rent.
Lost a month's rent, so now that's another $1,200 for me on
Cut
average.
the grass.
Boom. So like,
Utilities.
let's go. Let's add it up. So 500, 600, 1,200 because I missed the rent, mortgage, utilities, cutting grass. We're another $300. So we're at $2,500. Which, if you have a mortgage on the home, you're only making about 350, 300 max
Cash flow, yeah.
of cash flow. So that's 6 months worth of, or plus worth of work you gotta just have a tenant in there to really break even when they move out like that. As in contrast to if they move out every 5 years, you only have to do that one time. Now you may have to paint the whole place, which may be $2,500, and plus the painting, etc. But the key to that is that's cheaper than $2,500 every year and every year. So 2,500 times 5. Now we're looking at $13,000 in fees and the headache and the turnover. Now that I say that, what is your opinion on a 1-year lease versus a 2 or 3 year lease?
It depends a little on the class of the property. Your C-class properties, I don't trust a 2-year anyway. They're just gonna move out. Or they could, and there's very little consequence to them to break a lease.
What is a C-class property to you?
Probably nowadays, probably below 800 on
Cool.
month's rent.
What's a B class?
8 to 1100 maybe.
Gotcha.
And
All right.
A class is we've got a few of those like $2,200 a month rent. That sort of thing.
Man, what the fuck?
I don't know who rents that, but they do.
Exactly.
They do.
$2,200?
We got them.
Now, if I pay $2,200 for anything, God damn it,
You've
I'm living it.
been,
It's mine.
you should be buying it.
Yeah. But now, so I had one for 18. It was across the street from my house in
Mhm.
Avon.
Mm.
And so I rented that sucker for the first 2 years. My mortgage was $830, and it was getting $1,800.
Whoa.
Because I bought it for $130, and I put 20% down, so it was really like the mortgage was like $100,000. I put 20 in it to fix it, and just it was good so much. So I had it rented for 2 years. I won big, but then when they moved out, I couldn't get a lease for about 3 months.
Yeah, that was a weird.
The best property for rent in the whole neighborhood, and it didn't go. It was clean.
Yeah, I remember you sold that. And
So I flipped it, because 90 days, if my house can't get rented in 90 days, I gotta escape. I got an extra strategy on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I did sell it, so I worked for 130, put 20 in it. And I lost 2-3 months worth of rent, but I made so much throughout that when I flipped it, I sold it for 195.
Mm.
After fees, I made about 33,000. So it still worked out, but
yeah.
those were one of the ones I was trying to keep, man. That was pretty solid.
I'm a fan of single families because of that.
Gotcha. Extra strategies.
Yeah, the extra.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Now that you say that, shit, I want some apartments. Do you work with people who own apartments?
Sure.
How does that go? Is that any different than what I'm currently doing with single family?
Apartments a little funny. It depends on the size of the apartment.
Okay.
Remember I said you need one person for every 50 units?
Correct.
If you get below that, like 20 units or something like that, you need a property manager, and you're not going to have an on-site person. You can't afford them.
Correct.
But if you get like 50 units or more, then it's a different animal. You have on-site people.
Correct.
Yeah, and typically that 10% rate that we charge is a little bit lower for like multiple units like that.
Okay.
Some other things that come into play for bigger apartments. Some of my competitors charge a setup fee. We don't charge a setup fee.
What's the setup fee include?
So there's another thing that goes along with that is early termination penalty. So those two concepts make sense. If you have like let's say we took over a 100-unit apartment building. That's a big undertaking. That's 100 tenants to put in, 100 units that we put into our software. Rent rates, all those people's names, and all that's there's a significant amount of labor involved. If we take over that and they quit us in 2 months, we lost money. So we either need a setup fee to pay, to compensate us for all that setup, and then if you quit us in 3 months because you sold the property and you have a land management or whatever, then that's fine, we got paid our setup fee. Or if you don't wanna pay a setup fee up front, we need to be able to amortize that over at least a year.
Gotcha. So when he says amortize that, basically he's spreading the fee across a year. So if the setup fee is $1,500, he's basically gonna set it up to where every month you're paying $120 on a debt of $1,500.
Or at least we'll make our 1,500 back if we keep the management. I'll eat the 1,500 if you'll stay with us.
Correct.
For long enough.
Correct.
But if you quit us in 3 months, I've lost money.
Understood.
But a lot of my competitors, you come to them with a single family house and they want a setup fee and an early termination penalty. So you're stuck with them for a year, for I don't know why, just so they can be not very good managers, because if you quit them, they get paid anyway for a year.
Gotcha. Let's retract back. So, he killing the little beers. Alright, so, hey, don't forget, man, visit entrepreneur.entrepreneur.com. Basically, we're teaching you how to acquire real estate my way, step by step, man. There's a lot of good information over there. Go check us out. Meanwhile, for those tuning in, I got Steve Kline. He's my personal property manager. And, you know, my goal in bringing Steve in is basically just to kind of open you guys up to different ways to earn in real estate. His approach is managing his property. So early on, he told us about his story. Now he's really telling us about the business and the why and the different perspectives of what he does. But to bring it back, finding a good tenant for myself, what are your average rents across the board with all your properties, C to A properties?
Probably 800 to 1,000, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Gotcha.
If you take them all, we do the whole gamut. A lot of management companies, they're kind of heavy in the low end. Some of them won't take anything under 1,000 a month rent.
Gotcha. So this is where I'm at. As a landlord, I don't want anything under 1,000 anymore. And it's not anything personal, but I just get a different type of character when it's under 1,000. And so there's a caveat to that. Some of those properties you can own free and clear, and those are really making you the most money.
Usually cash flow on the low end stuff is really high, but you need that because more often you're gonna have problems.
Correct.
It tends to happen.
So what he's saying is, if you're cash flowing on a cheaper property, basically, if you own it, let's say it's $50,000, you're collecting $800 rent, which is great because that fits the 1% rule, like out the ballpark. That's almost like 1.5%. But the truth is that your return on your investment is greater than average. It's actually tremendous. But since it's a lower end property, you have more maintenance cost. And so that's what he's basically, elaborating onto that. So what's your filter system though for the customer?
So we have so that's a great question because there's bankers when you rent a house to someone, it's like you're loaning them. It's almost like giving a loan, like a banker might give you a loan, money loan. You're loaning them this house. Bankers use what they call 3 C's. The 3 C's are capability, collateral, and character. So capability, we check their income, make sure they make enough money, because people come, they don't even have enough money to pay rent. They'll rent from me if I let them.
Right.
They will sign that lease. There's no way they can pay that rent. But
Gotcha.
somehow they'll do it. Some people will do that.
She might be working at the gentleman's club, bro.
Could be. And then collateral is usually, a banker, it might be the car or the house, right? But for us, it's the security deposit.
Gotcha. What's your security deposit?
Usually 1 month's rent.
Gotcha. So if the rent is $1,000, you're making everybody put down $1,000 down payment, then they gotta come in and pay that first month's rent of $1,000. Now that's different for an apartment though. An apartment typically they're just doing like $300-400 or something. What gives a company like yourself that sells homes or rents homes, for landlords an advantage versus somewhere I could go and get, no deposit first, free rent the first month and stuff like that? Like, how do you stay aggressive and competitive?
They come and they pay it.
He said
they don't have a problem.
he said they open a wallet, so it's not a problem. I got you.
They don't have a problem with it. That seems to be kind of the norm for our business.
Got you.
For houses.
I just feel like they're so aggressive. Like, if my mortgage is $1,500 and then I gotta pay to move from where I'm coming from, and then I gotta pay $1,500, I gotta pay $3,000 just for the first month.
I know, it's tough. And then some companies are hitting you for like a pet deposit too. Like,
Hey, we do
take
that.
another $300 or $400.
I do that. I do like the little, I want to say it's $40 a month or some shit like that.
That's a little different. So some people, it's first month's rent and then security deposit. So it's 1,000 times 2. That's 2,000. And then some companies hit you for another $400.
Yeah, but I like how you taught me to do it.
Yeah,
You divide it throughout the year.
So some companies, they call that a non-refundable deposit. Well, it's just a fee. If you make it a true deposit, that means you might have to pay it back. Well, they got a dog, So most people, the 2 months were up front plus some $400 obnoxious thing. It's a tough call.
So you're saying, but what he's saying is that could like discourage a potential client.
Yeah, and if you just say, well, we charge an extra $25 per month per pet, that goes down pretty easy. It isn't this big lump sum up front.
Gotcha. I do $25. I think I probably need to increase that here soon. All right, now, how many clients do you currently have? Doors. Let's say units. How many units do you manage?
We have about 250.
250. Okay, gotcha. Where would you be at? I asked that incorrectly. Where would you like to be at?
I like 250.
You like 250. Tell me why you like to be right at 250.
I don't really want to get any bigger right now.
So I want to know a little deeper here. We got about 15 more minutes, but I want to really give somebody who has an idea from my culture, like, man, like that might be a perspective. Tell me why you're good at 250.
I like investing in real estate for myself, but we've also branched out. We're not strictly property management. To be truthful, we're probably a little bit more of a general contracting firm.
Okay.
Out of our total revenue, we're probably 55% general contracting, 45% brokerage side.
So are you basically flipping, buying and holding?
We do some flipping.
Gotcha.
We help other investors flip.
Gotcha.
We do some of our own.
Okay, so now, hey Ziggy, this is where the good shit start. You hear me? All right. So you have how many landlords on average?
We have about 160.
You have 160. That means that you're averaging under about one house per landlord or so.
Couple.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is my next question. Do you acquire for your landlords?
Mm-hmm.
So this is big. Steve is managing properties for landlords. If a person is a landlord, 90% chance that's not going to be the only property you're ever going to purchase. If they like it and if they're earning from it, they're going to want to buy more. Mm-hmm. Steve has a great buyers list of investors that basically he could leverage by finding assets and market it directly to them. To add, he has a trust factor because he's managing their properties and their finances on the real estate side. Mm-hmm. So that is huge. And it just, not to put you out there, it's really more so for people to really get the full circle of everything that you're doing. And man, that's awesome.
Yeah, we help them buy, we make a commission on that, we manage it for them, and then when they're tired of it, then we sell it for them, we make a commission on that.
Got you. So you're a realtor?
Mm-hmm.
Got you. And you had to get licensed to be a property manager as well too, right?
You're supposed to be a real estate broker, yeah.
Got
There's lots of them out there that aren't, because there's really no penalties from the government in the state of Indiana. Other states, there's penalties. You can get in trouble, you can get fined, you can get, I think California, you get arrested, thrown in jail.
Gotcha.
If you operate without a license. But,
that's big though. That's big. I'm going to send you some properties, Steve. Like, we gotta get Steve on our buyers list. He gonna make a little bit of bread on his side, but we don't care what Steve makes as long as we have a new avenue to sell properties. And I don't think that coming into this, nobody looked at you as having that really resource. And that's a little bit deeper, but it's just like there's so many ways to really make real estate work and leverage. In essence, it's social wealth because you're using your network to build your wealth on your company.
yeah.
I brought you in as a property manager, but you're not letting me know that, hey, I'm operating in this function a lot too. Mm-hmm. And my next question was just like, do you invest in real estate? How many properties do you manage of your own?
I have about 10 units.
Cool.
And last year I've flipped 3 houses, I think.
Okay. That's not bad. In your area?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Steve is in the 46210 area. Yeah. The area is booming. Anywhere from near East Side, from Washington Street, all the way up to right around Tech High School, maybe a little bit north of Tech High School, and you're going to like rural or so, you know. So that those areas are great. They're gentrifying and growing. And depending on where you buy, your comps could be really good if you buy right. So
yeah, we did one recently. I was kind of proud of. We bought it for 25. Mm-hmm. It's a rough little neighborhood. We put 35 in it.
35, and you paid
it for 90.
Oh, so okay, gotcha. That's not bad though. That's not a lot of work.
Yeah, it's not a huge capital investment.
But this is the thing about that. I'm gonna chime in on why I think you won. There is a low income housing shortage. Mm. Every fucking thing getting flipped or rehab is going for $250 and above. Like, you know, because material costs, labor costs, all has skyrocketed, especially here in the pandemic. So I feel that anything available between 125 to 175, it's gone like that if it's of quality in a decent area. Mm-hmm. So that kind of helps that. I'm trying to figure out a way to do that, but it's so hard with labor and material costs. Mm-hmm. You know, gotcha. Now, you said you were okay with the 250. Why are you okay with 250?
Well, that's really a personal choice for everyone. You know, when you get into a business and it starts getting big, you're not. I no longer become a property manager. I'm a business manager. And do you want to build this company? You know, that's kind of where we're at. You know, I'm going to be 60 pretty soon. I'm just not that interested in building a ginormous company.
Gotcha.
It's just a personal preference.
Gotcha. You just appreciate cash flow.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Cash flow is king. People don't understand that. You know what I mean? But now, what's the ultimate goal for Steve? Personal. Start personal. Like what's your, you know, you can't no longer do 5 and 10 year goals. Fuck that. Shit goes too fast. So like what's a happy spot, whether you're in it now or, you know, in the future, like where, man, I have 250 properties doors that I manage. My staff is pretty much handling everything where I'm out the business. What is that? What does that look like for you? Like what's that happy place? What's that goal where you and your wife are in a sense of ecstasy?
Well, we'll probably step away from the business slowly, and we have our kids work for us. Her daughter works for us, and my son works for us, so we'll hand that off. That's kind of our exit strategy. So we'll do, like, we'll cut back to 4 days a week, and then 3 days, and then 2.
Hey, that shit be bothering me. I've been wanting to call Donna on a Monday. It's a bunch of shit that happened this weekend. Donna, where you at? I literally have to wait till Tuesday. But it's okay. She's that great. I'm patient with that. Gotcha. Okay. How soon do you see yourself doing that?
I like to work, so I don't know. Probably 70 before I kind of start fading a lot.
Gotcha. So you enjoy work. You like the gym. You like going to the gym. I like that. Okay. All right. Before we head out, what are the pros and cons of being a property manager?
It's litigious. There's lawsuits that happen a lot.
To you?
That can happen to us. It's happened to us a couple times.
What type of lawsuits did you get? Just,
Just a tenant complaining about
So why would you get that versus a landlord?
because they wanted to. It wasn't proper.
Gotcha. Do you have somebody on retainer to keep shit off your ass?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Bring it back. Hey, thank you, man, for coming through, man. Cheers. Cheers.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
No problem. Bring it back in, and we'll almost close to wrapping up. So, all right, you ready, Z? Cool. All right. So, now, what advice would you give somebody who wants to start a property management company?
Well, get your licensing. Learn the business. You got to be a realtor. But it's like any business. You should learn business. A lot of people are like the example that a book I can recommend is called The E-Myth. It's about a woman who's a baker, and she's a very good baker, and she works for someone, and she says, well, I could start my own business. So she becomes a baker, and she owns her own bakery. And yeah, it's a great book. It's a fantastic book about how to be a business person. You don't have to be a good baker to have a really good bakery.
I don't know shit about her. You know what I mean? We sell here. Yeah, so.
You need to be a business person. Whatever it is you do, you need to be a business person first. Like learn if you're gonna really be your own business person, dig into the weeds a bit and learn a little bit of accounting and bookkeeping. I mean, you really need to know those things. You need to know the language of business. That's basically what it is.
Real estate. That's where being a realtor will help you balance that a little bit.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Investing. Let's talk about that real quick. I touched just because I didn't know you were doing that aggressively. Do you plan to buy and hold more?
Yeah. This year, so I've owned some properties quite a while, and I have a bunch of them paid off. I just applied recently for a line of credit, and I think by the 21st I'll have a $200,000 line of credit.
Gotcha.
Based on 5 properties that I.
Gotcha. If you need more, I can get you more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a guy that whatever you have liquid, business, any aspect that your Social Security touches, he'll give you times 10 that.
Okay.
All you have to do is make sure that the property is 70% to ARV, meaning that he will take 100%. He will pay 100% of the repairs, 90% of the property. So the only thing you have to do is put 10% on the property and closing cost, and you just get the disbursements on the repairs.
We need to trade some notes.
Yeah.
I got a guy you can maybe get in for 0.
Oh.
If there's ARV, he'll loan 75% of ARV.
That's what I'm talking about, Steve.
So if you can buy it for 50 and you can put 25 in it and the ARV is 100,
got you.
You got that bad boy for nothing now.
Yeah, that's muscle. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big boy muscle right there. I like that.
I haven't used him yet, but he's the guy that's getting me the 200,000. He said that's what they do. And
Gotcha. So with my guy, I have a $4 million credit line.
Yeah.
Just gave him 400,000, so he done that. So but you can get that money back on the refi. So like it still works. But I like 0 though. 0 works great.
I'm like, well, I got some investors that'll buy all day long at 0 down.
Man, you hear?
As long as I manage them right.
Come on, man. Come on. Now, gotcha. Before we get out, how can somebody find you? How can somebody, if they want their properties managed by you, where can they find you?
You can go to klineproperties.com. We have the alias klinepm.com, a lot easier to type. KLINEPM as in propertymanagement.com. That's the easiest way to find us.
Got you. There, they can find the properties that you have for rent, and they can find you and maybe like, you know, ask you about your services, get to know what all you do, full service, and go from there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. As far as your realty piece, when you flip homes, they're looking for something new, like, or do you list your properties on the site too?
Yes. Well, yeah, I will put them in the MLS.
Gotcha.
So they're on
Okay.
Realtor.com and all that. Mostly on our website is the rental piece.
Understood. Alrighty, man. So, hey, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Man, I want to thank Steve for coming out and really giving you a different perspective, pros and cons, his story, and some tips on, you know, if you ever are inquisitive about entering the real estate field as a property manager, like the pros and cons and things to really like hone in on. So, till next time, man, entrepreneur to entrepreneur.com.
Thank you, Eric.